And we're live. Morning, everyone. Craig here. So it's it's 7:30 my time, so I'm Central Time Zone. I didn't get a good chance to schedule this out last night and create a fancy thumbnail and all that. Just life's been busy. It's very busy as a you know working father of nine and with a we live in the country. We have a small farm, so cutting firewood, making sure water's running, all that kind of stuff just takes time. Um, in the winter months, it just seems like with the shorter days, it's just really hard to get a lot done. And I've been working very hard on building out a new business side hustle that I have been working on for a while, and that's getting close, but it's still not quite there. So I've been spending a lot of time there. Um, it just just life is busy, so wanted to show up today. Excuse me. So today what I wanted to talk about is sort of fitness, and it's something that I think at some point all of us have to kind of confront a little bit, and then it's an ongoing battle, if you will. And um and I, I thought I would share a little bit about my own kind of journey for what it's worth to anyone. And um, you know, maybe some people can maybe you'll find a little hope or some options for if you feel like you've neglected or haven't given enough attention to your fitness and personal health. Maybe I can give you a few nuggets to think about. So I'll be how old am I? I'm going to be 47 here soon. Um, as a kid, I don't show my whole body, but I'm like 5'8", so I'm a medium short guy, I guess, if you want to say that. Um, Grew up as a pretty small but scrappy and strong. So I used to be a wrestler as a kid. I liked playing baseball. I was a middle infielder. Um, Strong for my age. Never really got tall. I was never tall for my age, I guess I should say. Um, and like I said, I wasn't scrawny, but I was, just slender and strong. Um, and when I went to college, so I went to college when I was like 19, and I had been kind of working. I was pretty much done with. I was done with school, high school, and was uh, just doing a lot of construction work, farm work, ranch work, building fence. Pretty physically active, and went to college. And fortunately for me, I immediately connected with a guy that I met there who was a little older. I think he had gone back to college, and he was, he must have, if I had to guess, he was in his early 30s, maybe, and was super health conscious. And I never really thought about my health until then, um, just because I didn't have to. Like, literally, I had the metabolism of a teenager, and I could just eat and drink whatever I wanted. I was, I could run, I could play ball, I could do all the things. Um, but fortunately, I found him right before I started college. Otherwise, I think I would have quickly ballooned in college with the freshman 15. So I became pretty careful about what I ate. I actually started thinking about things like fat and sugar, calories. So I became really at the beginning, I became aware of what I ate, and probably to an extreme level. I mean, I didn't need to be eating fat-free stuff as a 19-year-old college kid, but it, better than the alternative, I guess. And then I started working out quite a bit. Mostly, I like playing sports. I was never a weightlifter growing up, even though I was reasonably strong. Um, I played a lot of sports. Like I said, I wrestled. I played baseball a lot, football until I was sort of middle school. Um, just sort of active in the outdoors, hunting and fishing and out walking. My brother and I would ride our bikes just miles to go to fishing spots. And and so then when I went to college, I actually kind of got into racquetball, and played that probably 2 or 3 times a week, and that was actually a really good activity. And then I started playing intramural sports like flag football and softball and things like that. So I managed to really stay in very good shape throughout college. I didn't. I think I came into college at like 145 pounds, and I'm pretty much maintained that. I think I was 145, 150 pounds. I might have been a little more trim when I graduated than I when I got there, but 145, 150 pounds, 5'8". Um, and then that was sort of the beginning of the decline for me, only because so I took a year off because my wife, who was in college, was a year behind me, and so I stayed, and we were engaged, and so we were going to get married the summer, like August after she graduated college. So I had a year to kind of stay in the area and work, and I had like 3 part-time jobs, doing some construction. I was milking cows. Um, and we spent a lot of time walking in the evenings, which was really nice. So we walked a lot. Wasn't doing so much running and sports, weightlifting, but walking a lot. But I also started kind of eating like crap. I had kind of weird work shifts. I was on my own, so I would stop at the gas station and grab pizza and bananas and stuff like that. So I think I started to put on a little weight during that time. And then so year went by, and then my wife, or who was my girlfriend at the time, graduated college, and then we got married later that summer, and then we moved to a different state for me to attend grad school. Um, so we got married, moved to attend grad school, and I was very busy with that. I was full time in grad school. I worked on the summers, but not during the school year. My wife was working. Um, and just grad school can consume you. There's no limit to the amount of time you can spend at it. So I spent just a ton of time studying and sitting and not eating particularly well, and started to put on some pounds. And you know, the I never really developed a taste for coffee until in my 40s. I just didn't like it. So when I needed caffeine, and this was kind of in the days before energy drinks and diet energy drinks. So my poison of choice was just pretty much Mountain Dew when I needed caffeine or a rush. And and my wife was of the belief, rightly or wrongly, that diet soda was going to give you cancer, and so there was no chance I could drink diet soda around her. So I just drank a lot of Mountain Dew, man. And that pretty much continued through grad school. We had a couple kids in grad school, and then um, that was kind of kind of how I operated for the next 15 years or so, um, and became less and less active. I really didn't have time to play softball anymore. Didn't We really didn't have time to go out for walks because we had a gaggle of young kids, and so just things slipped. Um, and Just because it's really, really easy, I think, when you are starting out, trying to build a family, try to buy a house, try to advance your career or whatever it is that you do, it's very easy to just let everything slide, especially yourself. You're like, well, I'll get to that another time. This weekend, I'll start working out. And of course, it never happens, right? It just doesn't happen. And it's still really, really difficult now, but I have some level of priority in my life that I didn't necessarily have then. I just kind of self-sacrificed. And also I think the other thing too is that, you know, kids don't typically like to eat what is healthy, vegetables and stuff. And so you're trying to you're kind of a young family, you don't have a ton of money and you're trying to feed people. And so your diet tends to revolve around whatever the kids will eat and what's reasonably affordable. And that tends not to be a real healthy package. So for a long time, that just so like I said, I don't remember how, when I graduated college, I was like 145, 150 pounds. I would say when I got out of grad school, I was probably 160, 165 pounds, something like that. And then it just gradually increased there. And at my worst, if I had, I was going to post some pictures of it. I just didn't get a chance to do that. But at my worst, I was 245 pounds. And, you know, I think I think I was at that around 40, maybe a little before 40. But definitely did not have so I still had terrible eating habits, drinking habits, in terms of soda. Um, and was really starting to feel it. And I had tried in the past, sort of half-heartedly, to lose some weight, and it just doesn't happen, right? You're good for a week or something, and then things fall off, and then you never get back into it. So um, it was really hitting 40 for me that was sort of a wake-up call for me. We had just had a baby. We've had two since then, I think. So we just had we had our first daughter after a bunch of boys, and I hit 40, and I was just like, if I want to see her graduate, I need to make some changes. That was sort of the realization for me, is like, I'm not a young kid anymore. I need to start acting like an adult. So when our daughter was born and I hit 40, I just something just kind of triggered, and I was like, I have to do something. And it wasn't even hitting 40, it wasn't New Year's. It was I think it was in March. We're coming up on the anniversary of that. I literally just woke up one day and I was like, okay, enough of it. Enough is enough. We're gonna get rid of this weight. And so, like I said, I was about 245 pounds at that point. Still reasonably strong. I've always been reasonably strong, even when I wasn't lifting weights. But um, I had no cardio. Like I couldn't run. Get winded quickly. So I just and I didn't really know how to start. Um, and so I just it's really weird. I just like, okay, I know some simple concepts. I know sugar's bad. I know carbs can be bad. I know protein's good. Let me just do this. And so this is what I did. And I just totally stumbled into it, and it worked. And I've actually done it a couple of times now. So this is the way I started. So I was in my I was in my fo- I was 40, okay? And I woke up one day and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up early every morning and I'm going to spend an hour just walking, because at that point I couldn't run. It's totally doable. I mean, I need to lose 25 again, but the one thing I'll say is uh I think this is actually kind of good. The easiest weight to lose is the when you're the most overweight. Like the more overweight you are, the easier it is, I think, for weight to start falling off if you just adjust things to a normal. The closer you get to kind of your ideal weight, the harder it is to lose that weight. But so So I had weight to lose, and so I woke up one day and I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Every single morning, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna walk for an hour. Um, and I got up, and we live in the country, so unfortunately, it's not like I can just walk out in the street and stuff like that. So it was a bit difficult. But I walked outside, rain, snow, whatever, cold. I walked, and when I first started, it was about all I could do to walk a half a mile. But I walked a half a mile. The next day, I walked a little further. And so every morning, 7 days a week, I walked for at least an hour to hour and a half. That probably made the biggest difference, actually, if you think about it, is just walking. And the way our property is over behind us, so I would drive or walk up around the corner to a church. There's a parking lot, and then there's a kind of a quiet paved road that goes down into the valley from there. And so it's a nice place to walk. I would take my dog out, and and I would like listen to podcast or music and stuff like that. So um, I would walk every single day, and then here was my diet plan. For better for worse, it's been the best diet plan I've followed. Is what I would do is in the morning, trying to remember exactly, but I can get most of it pretty close. I got up in the morning, I would have generally like 2 eggs, 2 or 3 eggs with like basically no carbs. So 3 eggs, usually over easy. And then I think what I would often do is maybe have like some cottage cheese, maybe some yogurt, maybe some fruit with it. But I was trying to avoid just pure carbs like bread, right? Bread, bagels, things like that. So I would have eggs usually in the morning. I didn't have like potatoes and hash browns, just eggs. And then what I did during the day is, so instead of like snacking on chips, so I'm a salt guy. Some people are sweet, have a sweet tooth. I have a salt craving. Like, right, you give me a handful of Skittles or a bag of chips, I'm going to go for the chips every time. Right. My wife's the complete opposite. So, so for snacks, I didn't really look at my calories. I just said when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat fruit and vegetables. So I would have apples around, I'd have bananas around, I would have carrots, um, peas, any kind of fresh vegetable. And I really didn't pay attention to how much I ate, but it was just like in between meals, when I was hungry, I would eat fruit and vegetables really as much as I wanted to, fresh. And I gave up the diet. I gave up the Mountain Dew, and I went to, I don't know if I went to diet soda, or I think maybe around that time, like Monster was a thing, a diet. I would get a diet Monster. Maybe I started drinking coffee then. I don't remember exactly, but I stopped drinking soda. That was a huge, huge thing. And when I needed some caffeine, it was some sort of a diet related thing. Um, so that probably, and I drank a ton of water. Like I drank lots of water. And then for lunch, I pretty much had a salad every single day. Now I don't really like salad anymore for that reason, but every single day I would have a salad. I'd bring it with me or whatever, mix up a big salad, put cheese and croutons, and I didn't always put a lot of meat on it. I think the one thing I probably did wrong with that diet is I didn't get enough protein in my diet, but in terms of a calorie approach, it worked very well. So I'd have a salad pretty much every day for lunch. And then the afternoon was the same thing as the morning. I would have fruits and vegetables sort of on demand, and then just drink lots of water. And then what I did, in part because I didn't really want to, I work late. When I get home, it's late. I have limited time with my kids, and so I, rather than trying to come up with this whole new meal plan or make my wife cook something different, I just said I'm going to eat whatever's served for supper. We call it supper. Most people call it dinner. I would eat I would be sort of selective about what I ate, but I would eat it, and I would eat a smaller portion with no seconds, unless it was like vegetables or something like that. But if we were having hamburger and fries for dinner, I would have that and just one hamburger, um, and maybe a small amount of fries and no snack and no seconds. And then the biggest thing, and this was probably the hardest thing for me, is I didn't eat anything after that. So I'm an evening snacker. I can really do all good all day long, and I get to that evening, and that's just when the munchies hit. And so I just cut out I didn't eat anything until bed, um, other than just water, right? So I did that, and it takes about a week, I think, for your body to readjust to the fact that, oh, you're not eating like a slob anymore, and you're taking care of yourself. But I would say within a week, I lost like 3 or 4 pounds. I was like, hmm. So I just stuck with that. Like that was literally what I did 7 days a week with very little exception. And as I was becoming a little better in shape, um, I would walk. Um, I could walk more and more to a point where I was walking 4 miles a day. Kind of, you walk downhill and then you have to walk uphill all the way back. Um, and that actually was a recipe for success. So I lost pretty consistently 4 pounds a week for about 3 months, and that's how I lost. So do the math. I mean, I lost 48, almost 50 pounds in 3 months, basically, just doing that, just walking an hour every morning, avoiding carbs, eating fruits and vegetables and snacks, going to a diet soda or diet source or coffee, and then not snacking after the evening meal. That was basically the recipe. And I lost consistently 4 pounds week after week after week. Now, as I got closer to 200, now my goal setting out, which was absurd, was I'd like to see 175 pounds again. So just for reference, um that would have been a 75-pound weight loss. I had no idea. I mean, I was like, well, I'm gonna pick a number. Like, what would I like to be? Like, if I could be 175, I'd be very happy. So that's what I set out. And as I got 20 pounds in, I was like, huh, this is actually not that hard. So, 4 pounds a week, week after week. And then when I hit that sort of that 200-pound mark, that's when things started to slow down. And at that point, um, I started running, and I've always hated running. I still don't enjoy running unless it's associated with a sport or something like that. Running for the sake of running is just like the worst kind of torture. Um, but then I started running pretty much every morning instead of walking, just trying to I mean, I felt good. I was like, and I wasn't really working up any kind of a sweat walking. So I just started running regularly, and that kind of got me down another 10 pounds, but it took me a little bit. It took me a little longer to get from 100, let's say 200 pounds down to 190. And at one point, I dipped under 190. I don't know, think I got to 185, but I got to like 187, 188, and I looked I looked pretty skinny relative to what I look now. So for context, right now I'm about 200 and probably 25 pounds, 230 pounds, which is not great. Uh, you can see my little double chin here. Um, I'll talk about that in a moment, what I'm doing now. But, for me, what's really weird is, when I've done like my life insurance applications and stuff like that, um, I think I'm considered obese over 180 pounds, which, yeah, I mean, I mean, it's not like I grown anymore since I was a 150-pound college student, but like, um, I don't think there's any chance, unless I'm just a complete neurotic about it, that I could get under 190 pounds. I don't know. I mean, unless I become a marathon runner or something like that. Yeah, I think so. Walking, like, I think we overthink this and this is something I've been thinking about recently is just the walking. So I don't know if you can see in the background here, we have the treadmill there, mostly just sits there, um, but so I got to about that 190 pounds. I was running, and then like no more weight was coming off, and I was like, okay. So it was around that time that I found CrossFit, and I had no idea what CrossFit was. I had never maybe I'd heard the name, but I had no idea what it was, and a probably because I think at the time I was searching for because I live in the country, so it's not like I could just go to Anytime Fitness or whatever. It's a bit of a hassle. So I was like, okay, what are things that I could do around here? Splitting wood. What I was trying to do is incorporate work with exercise, so like splitting wood, building fence, physical activities. At one point, I looked at setting up a like an exercise bike to our well and pumping water that way. That, by the way, was not going to work. But I imagine the searches that I was doing what prompted the Facebook ad, and I'm grateful to this day that that Facebook ad showed up. And it was like a 6-week challenge. I was like, okay. Um, so I called them and went for a free class, and I was hooked immediately. I don't know why. I've never, like I said, I didn't really lift weights consistently as a kid. Um, and I've always I like playing sports, but I've never like the thought of sitting in a class with a trainer. I would have rather gouged my eyes out than do that. At least that's what I thought. So for those that don't know what CrossFit is, I think what it is, it's called high intensity, constantly varied training of functional movements, I think is what it is. Now, I think it's on its core it is, but it's also a lot of Olympic weightlifting and stuff, which actually I've really have grown to love. But it's things like sit-ups, pull-ups, um, air squats, box step overs, box jump overs, kettlebell lifts, um, that kind of like body movement, that sort of body movement. And then of course it's combined with other stuff like, you know, more gymnastic stuff. So like I guess the pull-ups would be more gymnastics, but like, like working with rings, handstands, stuff like that. And then, the weightlifting. And the weightlifting was the thing I was like, ooh, I like this. Like not sitting at a machine or a rack, by like picking up a barbell and dropping it. That resonated with me. So, but I remember the first time I went to the CrossFit, like it kicked my butt. And this was, like I had just spent probably 6 months at that point eating well and walking like an hour plus a day and then I was running. Like I was running every day almost. Probably that probably wasn't a great idea, but I could get up every single day and run 3 or 4 miles without really feeling like I was working. I didn't get sore or anything like that. But I stepped into that CrossFit gym and it kicked my ass. Probably just because it was just a new set of movements. But I couldn't even do the basic things without just becoming totally gassed. And I was like, okay, this is what I need, something different, something challenging. So I signed up for CrossFit and I started doing it 3 or 4 days a week, religiously for 3 years probably. And I got pretty good at it, especially for my age. I got pretty strong. I still can do a lot of it, but I could do pull-ups, handstand push-ups. I could do a lot of things that most guys my age could never do, at least all of the stuff put together. Still not a great runner, still hate running, still piss and whine the entire time, but I can do it. So I did that, and then what I think I found is that as I as I became more active in CrossFit, I was eating more, and then it just stopped paying as close. I think you start to think to yourself, "Well, I'm working out. I can eat like a teenager again," right? I think that's what the trap you fall into. And so then the weight kind of started to go up. And so then over a course of about a year and a half, I went from, let's say, 200 pounds to like 230 pounds again. I was like, how the hell does this happen? Like, it just not like I'm sitting down and eating a, bag of chips every night, but it's just little stuff. As you get older, you're just your body. And I think my body adjusted to it. Like, I think that's part of it too, is your body adjusts to what you do. And so I think maybe just changing things up from what you're used to can make a big difference. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just spent a quarter of the year being a runner, quarter of the year being a weightlifter, quarter of the year being, I don't know, walker. But so I did the CrossFit and I became really strong, really technically good at it. But then the weight started to creep up again. And so I got to about 230 pounds. I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. Um, so then what I did, I more or less did the same thing I had done the first time with a little bit of um yeah, that's probably something that I still don't necessarily appreciate. Like, the one of the things I liked about CrossFit, still like, is just that kind of that all out red line kind of type of thing. Cause just, I don't know, there's just something about the intensity of it. Um so I said, okay, we're gonna lose some weight. So this time I think I kind of did similar to what I did before, but more of a focus on calories. Um, and so I got the Noom app, Noom. Actually, I still have it. I keep forgetting to cut off the renewal on that. Um, but the Noom app is it's a fitness tracking app where you can say, okay, what's my weight loss goal, and track your weight. You punch in your weight every day, or however often you measure. It counts your calories. And basically, I just used it to track calories, and just the act of like tracking calories. So, like, you're going to grab something and put it in your mouth. You're like, I got to put this in, and this is going to my, 2,000 calorie allowance for the day, or whatever the case is. So, rather than focusing on avoiding certain types of food, I just started focusing on calories. Again, I don't think I appreciated protein as much, but I did that, and and you can add in your workouts and stuff like that. So I would kind of like figure in a rough estimate of the calories I burned doing the CrossFit, put it in, and I lost 30 pounds again. I got down to 200 again, and I felt great. I was super strong. I was really doing well in CrossFit, and 200 pounds, like, that probably was the best overall package in terms of combination of strength and weight and size. I liked how I felt good. I liked how I looked, and that sort of sustained me. But again, you just sort of you just creep back, and so now I'm back. So I'm back to about. So I got back up to about 230, and during this time frame, my wife, who's never been someone that likes to work out and has never been real fun of dieting, but just by virtue of having kids and nursing babies all the time, has always stayed, I always thought, a very nice figure. But comparing ourselves to our college weight, she probably had 40 pounds on her from when she went to college, which is a bigger deal for a woman who just isn't as big. Anyway, so she went on this meal plan, and and did amazing. Just, and like I said, she wasn't even walking or anything, but just following this meal plan. She likes to see it. Like, she likes to know exactly what to do and just follow it, and she'll do it. She's a rule follower. I'm not. And so she lost, I think, 40 pounds and looked amazing. And then when it came time, I was like, well, why don't I do that? So I got on the plan with her, adjusted to my size and goals, but we were basically eating the same meals, just my portions are a little bigger. And I just following that plan, I lost 15 pounds. So I got down to about 210, 215. I was like, okay, I could do this. It was kind of fun doing it together with my wife. The way it would work is she would have the regular meals for the excuse me, for the kids, and then we would make our meals up separate. And that was actually one of the best things that we ever did, was just stop trying to eat what the kids eat, and we just try to eat better ourselves. And you get to enjoy more food, but food with onions and mushrooms and things that some of the kids may not eat. So that we did that, and then it just slipped back. So now I'm back at about 230. We're kind of on the plan, sort of watching it, but I'm not. Anyway, so I'm in this state where I need to do something again. I don't feel terrible, but I don't. You know, I'm I'd like to lose about another 20, 30 pounds again, and so that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I wanted to talk about this today. So, pick and choose. I did CrossFit for a while, but didn't have success. Join another gym with workouts that really, yeah. What kind of workouts do you like to do this? So I, I mean, if I had a CrossFit gym like close by, I would still do that. Like, there's something about. So one thing I did find, and one thing I will say about classes, is when you have a CrossFit class, you show up and there's accountability built in, even if it's just you don't want to look like a slacker in front of your buddies. And you'll find if you do it long enough, you'll find a group of people that are sort of in your range in terms of abilities, and you kind of play off each other. So I actually benefited a lot from that because I'm kind of a competitive person, and so I want to beat Caleb and Cody and those guys. So especially when they're a lot younger than me. So I always kind of had a chip on my shoulder, being the old guy, more or less keeping up every day with guys that were in their 20s or early 30s. So that was I found that really really helpful, and there was a few things I never quite got to where I could do. Like I never did get to a muscle up or ring muscle up, bar muscle up. I was so close. I worked on it hard for a year when I was in that phase where I was 200 pounds in good shape, but and now I wouldn't even try. But I really like CrossFit for that reason, because it really held me accountable to myself. That now that I've been working out more independently, I can go in and get a good workout in, but it's not the same level of intensity because you don't have the loud music and people yelling at each other, and you're feeding off each other's energy. So, yeah, um, I've never done the yoga thing. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not one of the weird Christian Catholic trads who thinks it's demonic or anything like that. But it's again, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like you're a busy guy and you're like, I've got limited time to do things, so I try to pick this. I try to focus on the stuff that I know and I enjoy, because that's the stuff that I'm more likely than not going to get up and do every day. Um, whatever, Jonah, big baby, get off your ass and go work out. Um, so yeah, let's see, what else did you got here? The gym I speak of didn't offer the kind of I like to do, but I like being there. Are you talking about the CrossFit one or the other stuff? Um, so I mean, again, I totally did not expect to have any interest in doing a class workout because I was kind of a loner. But I tell you, it was instrumental. Like, you got to get over your comfort level a little bit. You got to go in and be uncomfortable, but man, I thrived under that. I really thrived in that group environment, class environment. One thing I like about CrossFit is we have an app, so everyone posts their scores that day. So what did you lift during the deadlift? What was your score during the WOD? So CrossFit is the way ours is set up. It's an hour long class, and then there's sort of like 15 minutes of warm up and stretch, and then we would have like a 20-minute weightlifting session, front squats, deadlifts, power cleans, things like that. Or it could be more working on a gymnastics thing like muscle ups. Yeah. I got so close. I just didn't I just couldn't quite do it. Um that's still on my goal is to do a muscle up, but I feel like I'm running out of time and age here, but um I got to where I could do one of my favorite workouts is Murph, which is it's about a 90-minute workout. Like you run a mile, then you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 air squats, and then you run a mile. And then if you and then you to do it RX, which means do it as prescribed, you do it with a is it 20 or 30-pound weight vest? I don't remember. And if you really want to do it, you do it 100. You do the 100, then the 200 and 300 in sequence. Whereas most of us we break it up. We'll do 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15. But um, I got so I just never did get to do a muscle up. I'm really sad about that. So so you do 20 minutes of strength, and then the last, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes of class is the workout of the day. So to give you an example, here, let me look. I'll look up the app. The Saturdays are usually a little different. Um, but like today's workout, if I went to the gym, was and it was in teams of two. So you do as many reps as possible in 18 minutes. So that like sometimes it's as much as you can do in a time period, or it's like do this workout and then record your time. But and this was in a partner workout, but you do 20 front squats, 30 toes to bars, 20 thrusters. Now thrusters are one of the worst things in the world, but they're so good for you. 30 chest to bar pull-ups, 20 front squats, 30 bar muscle ups here. So I wouldn't have been able to do the bar muscle up, and then 20 thrusters, right? So that's today's workout. And then you kind of cool down. And I don't know, I loved it. Um but it's hard. It's hard with a busy guy, a family, to find a time to do it. For a long time I would get up real early, like at 4 in the morning, go in and work out, then go to work. But it was hard for my wife. She always had to get the kids ready for school, and so I changed that. So now when I go after work. Um, but it's just much easier to be like, oh shit, I've had a hard day. I'm not going to do this. So, whoops, this loud music and yelling irks me on working out. I like to be, yeah. So, um, when I'm working out by myself, I don't like the loud music. I usually have my earbuds in and I'm listening to podcasting and things like that. When I'm at the CrossFit gym, they actually won't let you wear earbuds. You're not allowed to have earbuds. And so they crank up the music, and I don't know that there's something about the intensity of you know blaring rock music that I don't know. I like that, but we're all doing the same thing, right? We're all doing the WOD right now, and so there's the music. I think adds to it. Let's see. Um, oh, yeah. Back to your question. Yeah, it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone, but um, not every CrossFit gym does it the same way. So you might consider finding a different one. Hi there. What do you need? Can you give me a few minutes? I'm going to wrap up my live stream and then I'll come help you. Okay. All right. I'll be right there. Kids are starting to wake up. Got to help with cereal. Um, but yeah, I mean, for a long time, I thought there's no way I could ever go again without CrossFit. Now I don't. I do a lot of it on my own. And if I'm being honest, I get to my CrossFit class. If I do it once a week, I'm doing well, but it's really about every couple of weeks. Now the CrossFit Open is starting up here soon, and that's like a 3 or 4 week thing, and I'm going to go in every week and do that with them. But yeah. I used to be able to do a backflip from a dead standstill and touch a 10-foot run from running jump. You're f- you're 5'3"? Man, I would not have guessed. I so I'm not used to feeling so utterly unathletic. Yeah, I'm just um like I said, I'm built like I built like a wrestler. Now I'm built like a pudgy wrestler, but um I was never able to jump, play basketball, things like that. Um yeah, that's all there is. You can't see it because we don't put windows on the lodges, but that's actually all it is. Inside is a big CrossFit gym. CrossFit gym and yoga studio. So there you got. There's the inside scoop of what happens inside the lodges, Jonah. Yeah, I mean, what I think is really cool about CrossFit is it's so adjustable to different people, different um skill levels. Everything can be scaled. Um I got to what I was really proud of when I started, when I first started doing CrossFit. Let me back up a little bit. So the workout of the day, there's a term called RX. If you don't know what that means, I think I mentioned earlier, but RX is like the prescribed thing. So like the workout I was talking about today, um, the front squats, 95 pounds, that wouldn't be hard for me at all. But like the chest to bars, I could do chest to bars. I don't know if I could do 30 of them in a row. Um, the bar muscle ups, I've never been able to do a bar muscle up. I get close. So RX means you do all that stuff. And then scaled means that maybe you do everything, but instead of toes to bars, you do sit ups, or instead of a 95-pound bar, you use 85 pounds, or instead of bar muscle ups, you do pull ups, right? And so it's very scalable. Or if you're doing box jumps, box step overs, instead of doing a 30-inch box, you do a 24-inch box or a 20-inch box. And so it's very scalable for people based on age, skill. If you have an injury, we've had guys in there that blew out their ACLs, and they're still in. There's things you can do while you're rehabbing from that. So yeah, that's the one thing I like so much about CrossFit is it has so many options available to you. The biggest problem with CrossFit, I think, although this is what really generates the how it grows, is if you're not familiar with it, there's the CrossFit Games. So there's professional CrossFitters, and the workouts, and these are like elite athletes. Like some of these are like former Navy SEALs, former Olympic weightlifters, former gymnasts, and former football players. So the stuff that they could do that the average person couldn't do is amazing, or the amount of it, or the weight of it, or whatever, or like the volume of it, day after day after day. And so what that has sort of driven CrossFit a little bit, because it's gone a little bit from something that was designed to be functional movement for the average person, which is the one thing I will say about CrossFit. I achieved and continue to have a level of mobility that most people don't have, especially people my age. My squat depth, my ability to bend over and touch my toes, all that kind of stuff was enabled through CrossFit. And the body weight stuff is just so good on your body. Like, it is low impact stuff. But as they got into as they started to have competitions and it became professional, you have guys that are like, I mean, there's people doping, right, to do it. Um, the stuff they have to come up with that add to the intensity of it to make it a something that they can distinguish these elite athletes from each other. Like, they have to be looking for ways that there are things that some of these athletes can't do, or can't do as well as their peers. So that is sort of driven, I think, CrossFit in a direction beyond what it's designed to do or was originally designed to do. But I think most CrossFit boxes, and I know I keep talking about CrossFit because that's just what I know and what I do, is you go in there and you can really tailor it to your own needs. Some people love the cardio, love biking, love running, love sit-ups, but hate weightlifting, right? I'm the opposite. I love a heavy barbell. Like the heavier the barbell, the better, because that's my strength. I'm never going to be able to outrun or out pull up the 20-year-olds that are 100 pounds lighter than me. But you give me a barbell and heavy weight, heavy volume of it, I can hold my own and thrive. And that's just, everyone's a little different. And so you can find things that work. But then you have to like work on your weaknesses, right? So I work hard on my cardio. So like when I go to the gym now, if I only have 30 minutes, as much as I would like to just pick up the barbell, because that's what I like, that's what I'm good at, I hop on the rower. Not a huge fan of rowing, but rowing is a really good combination of cardio and weightlifting. So you have to mix in stuff. If you want to get better, you have to focus on the stuff that you're not good at. Um, yeah, I mean, you're a little bigger metro, area. I mean, I think it can depend on. It can depend a little bit on the gym and also the time that you go. Like, I think when I was going to like 5 a.m. classes, 6 a.m. classes, or even 10 a.m. classes, you're dealing with a very different pool of people than those that go at, let's say, 4 or 5 in the afternoon, evening. In my experience, the real early morning people were more moms and dads, business people that worked out before work. Not so much the young 20-year-old, you know, good athletes that are just came out of college. They tended to go to, after, later, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The 10 a.m. was a lot of retired folks, right? People that I was able to go to 10 a.m. because my work is flexible and it was close to my office, and so that's kind of where I started out. So a lot of it can depend on the time of day, can make a big difference on the who you're with. But one of the reasons I stopped going to like the 10 a.m. is I realized I mean, you kind of rise to the level of your competition. And so I had kind of become, for lack of a better word, the best athlete at the 10 a.m. because I was competing um against 80-year-olds, right? 60-year-olds. And so to get better, I started hanging out at the 4 and the 5 and working out with the recent college grads who were football players and trying to keep up with them. And it made a big difference. Like I made strides because of that. I'll meet you in Hooksett to work out, or I don't know what that is. Yeah, um, it's true. And I have gone to other boxes. That's what they call CrossFit gyms, is boxes. And like when I travel, like when I go to California or whatever, New York for work, if I can, I try to stop in and work out at a different gym and get a T-shirt when I'm there. And they are very different. There's a lot of there's a lot of variations and stuff. So
Never mind, Dad.
you got it taken care of. You got your cereal. Okay, good. Thank you. Hey, you'll do me a favor. You'll get Dad a Pepsi. All right. This is the advantage of having kids, is you can ask them to go do stuff for you. So um, I yeah. So right now, and now here's the other thing. I've actually acquired a decent amount of workout equipment. I actually have a Rogue Assault bike. I have a Rogue, barbell, the 45-pound barbell. I have the Olympic weights, dumbbells. Um, and I'll tell you, first of all, I don't really have good space here. at my house to work out, but it's just hard. It's just harder to work out at home. There's something about, I don't know. It's just too many distractions, too many reasons not to work out, and so there is some advantage to going elsewhere, which is why lately I've been. Thank you, sweetheart.
Mhm.
So, which is why lately I've been working out at the high school gym, which is close to our. It's 3 miles from here, and it's a block away from my. Hey, you want to shut the door for me? It's a block away from my office, and so it's not as fun as going to the CrossFit gym, but it's easier for me to get there and do something, and that's kind of what I've been focusing on is just showing up more often. So yeah, yeah, I which is I don't know if you caught this part of it, Jonah, but um, I how I got into CrossFit is I was trying to figure out a way to how to work out here on my property, like accomplish like useful tasks around here and work out. Um, it's actually there's only so much firewood, right? And there's only so many things you do um, that and I don't know, it snows, it rains, it's foggy, it's wet. I don't know. It's just I used to think that, but I mean I live on 20 acres. Like I could go out and do stuff, but again, kind of like the difficulties of working out at home. It's not that easy to go out and get a workout outside. So I've come around to the idea of that gyms are a good thing and people need to do that. Yeah, I have to. So, and the other thing is, which you probably can't hear. I hope you can't hear. Is I have birds and squirrels living in the ceiling here. That because when I finished this room, I did not get all of the I don't know what it's called, where the soffit would go, soffit and fascia, um, the soffit, and so the little bastards are up there making a lot of noise. So I'm gonna get that sealed up here soon, so this helps cut out that noise, but not entirely. I can still hear the little devils. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I I'm not opposed to that. Although the older I get, the less interested I am in moving across the country. I I think I think if you wanted to do that, I think you'd have to go to a cheap arid area, probably Wyoming, Idaho, places with low regulations. So I don't. And here's the other thing, and I'm gonna do another episode on this on homesteading. There's this false belief that doing things cheaper saves you money because of the time involved, and so as you get I don't know how old you are, Jonah. I'm guessing you're in your 30s. I don't know. Um, the closer I got to 40, especially I got in my 40s, I realized I had a um, premium on time. Like my time became very, very valuable, and so we stopped doing some of the things we did around here, some of the gardening, some of the canning, because it wasn't a good use of time, which is in limited supply. So yeah, I mean that's the problem. I mean that's even true around here. So when we built our house, um, I tried. I studied the codes, the rules. We had at the time that we built this house, which was probably 15 years ago. Um, the state that we're in has very I want to say lax, but largely unregulated electrical rules, but had pretty strict plumbing rules, and also had pretty strict rules for like wind load and shear load. So we had kind of looked at doing a yurt for a while, but you couldn't actually get a yurt that would meet our state's wind and load requirements, even though they put them in the up in the alpine where there's huge snow and stuff like that. But um, so I did it by not putting in running water when we built our house, and then we did the wiring ourselves, and then just had it inspected. So as long as you did the wiring up to code, you could do the wiring yourself, but you couldn't do the plumbing yourself, even if it was up to code. You had to hire a plumber. So the plumbers union had good lobbying groups around here. Now it's changed. Now you have to hire an electrician too. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Back when I was much more political 15 years ago, I thought that was right around the corner, and now I'm just like, "Well, maybe I don't know." It, every time I think the bottom's going to fall out, it doesn't fall out. So yeah, I mean, if there is truly a economic just upheaval, that'll be a different thing. If we go into anything like the Great Depression, which is part of why I like living here. So even though like right now we're not actively living sort of off the land, we have the capacity to, for the most part. We have a house that I could we could live in without electricity. Literally, we could live here without electricity. I could heat it. Got good windows. We're up on the ridge. We get pretty good ventilation in the summer. I have a root cellar that we can store food all year round. I have a well that can be mechanically operated if necessary. It'd be hard. I don't have the windmill set up, but that's kind of the next thing. Um, so So what I kind of focused on was building a place that has the capacity to sustain our family if we truly find ourselves in that kind of a dire social economic circumstance. But as long as things are operating normally, it's just not a good use of my time to be out pulling weeds around carrots on Saturdays. It's actually a better use of my time to be doing this, as crazy as that sounds. So or go spend an hour at my office. I'm going to be much better off for my family's well-being than to spend 10 hours out pulling weeds. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used to be I'm still kind of a Ron Paul guy. I used to think that you had to have some currency. I mean, look at our debt. Our national debt is what, 30 some million dollars or 30 some trillion dollars now. And you think I can't go on, but it continues to do so. So I don't know. I mean, I I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it continues to work. Maybe it's not working, but I think the world's getting better. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here on a live stream on a Saturday morning is pretty remarkable. But what's bullshit, Jonah? Man, you're just crabby today. Why are you so crabby? You need some yoga in your life. That'd make you more happy, I bet. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I think I do think that the American dollar being sort of maintained as the world currency is because we have the biggest stick and can go and have gone and toppled nations. So I think, um, so I don't know. But I also see just how much things have changed. I think for the better. Really because of COVID. I mean, that's crazy. Like just so yesterday, I mean, just think how much things have changed. So like yesterday, I needed a part for my computer, an adapter. Went on Amazon. I have Amazon Prime, and it's literally coming today. And I live in the country. Like I live well out into the country, and it's going to be dropped off today. I don't have to go anywhere. My wife, she gets groceries delivered now by Walmart, or at least pickup. I mean, just being able to go order your food online, go and pick it up without having to take all the kids in the store is an incredible advancement. So I don't know. I think I think more or less we're heading in the better direction. So I don't know. I mean, I'm with you, Jonah, to some extent. I used to be with you much more to a much greater extent, but I just see stuff, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe fiat money is fine. I don't know. I can only go on what I see and experience, and it's somehow it seems like things continue to work, but who knows how long that'll last. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for bringing this along with you. But there again, you could do this on a smartphone. You could be participating in a live stream, going about your business. I mean, that's something we could have only dreamed of even 10 years ago. Um, yeah, I really struggle with what to do here because it's funny because when we bought this property, we bought 9 acres and then we bought another 9 acres, and I don't know, it was a lot of money to me as a young father of a family. Um, when we bought this property, let's see, almost 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, you know, it was everything I do come up with a down payment, and I did it on a short land contract and paid it off. I could, but like literally, I mean, it's a bit of exaggeration, but I can almost pay cash for this property now. Um, for the price that I paid, not for what it's worth now, but because I'm just in a better situation. But money is much more freely available too, and but I get calls all the time. I get emails all the time for people trying to buy the the back acres that I have, which is a um, really nice building site. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean. I moved to the land. I had this dream of going out into the country, building a homestead and all that, and I've kind of done that. On hindsight, I don't know if this is what I would do again. Um, I don't know. I mean, I love living in the country, but there are disadvantages to it. It's for things as simple as getting your kids to school, church, work. When you get kids that start working, then you got to get them to work before they drive. Like living in the country has its definite disadvantages. It has its advantages, but there are definite disadvantages to going out and living in the country. Whereas, and we live in a fairly small house. It'll be perfect for us when the kids are kind of out of the house, but right now it's pretty cramped in here. We would, on hindsight, should I have just bought just a decent size, 3,000 square foot house within walking distance of my job, pay more in property taxes and utilities, but instead of spending Saturdays out fixing fence and cutting firewood, maybe I just spend half that time at the office, make a bunch of money, and then spend the rest of the time with my family. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I used to think that you could get your way to prosperity by saving money. That was sort of the old school. That's the way my parents are. Now I'm not so sure. The way I think the way to do it is to figure out how to make money quicker than it is to try and live cheaply. It actually costs a lot of money to live cheaply, I found. So I don't know. That's just me. I don't know what I would do all over again, but I don't necessarily. To be honest with you, if I was going to tell the next generation to do, I'd say buy a camper, buy a bus, and just travel around and live remotely, see the country, maybe buy a piece of real estate, vacant piece of real estate, pay it off, and build something on it. Um, I think the biggest difference maker now that actually does make living in the country a little more possible is the capacity for remote work and or like being an online entrepreneur. Those are all things that really weren't accessible to me when I was starting out 20 years ago. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, things have changed so much since I started having kids 20 years ago. But certainly the way our parents grew up is different, and so we're very much a product of our parents, and I, grew up um, with my parents' approach to things, and I think we did ourselves a disservice trying to like follow that plan. I think we'd be in much better shape now if I'd have stopped and thought outside the box a little sooner. But I don't know, hindsight's always 2020. Um, but there's definitely some things that I think there are so many. I think there are opportunities that the young generation has now that was not available to me even when I started having a family 20 years ago. Just the ability to work remotely and do really good work and be an entrepreneur and have side hustles through the internet and stuff like that. Man, can you hear those? I think it's birds. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Um, but so I think that is the major difference maker where you could, in theory, if you wanted to, go live in a cob village in Wyoming and work for a big corporation in New York City and just remote in through Skylink. I mean that actually is the biggest thing that people may have available to them. Whereas up until COVID, it really was pretty unusual for people to work in a different area from their job. I think so. That I think, yeah. So that's one of the things I'm really interested in now. It's kind of one of the things I'm working on. It's sort of the side business that I've been putting out is leaning into that a little bit for myself. Although I'm almost at that point in life where like, okay, I've kind of stuck in my time learning what I do now. It's just starting to get pretty good and making good money at it, and I don't necessarily want to just upend all that. But for people that are, let's say, a lot, in their 30s, or especially if you're in 20s, I think you have so many opportunities to you, but it may mean moving out of the big city and just taking a gamble on yourself. I think is the big thing I would tell people. So, but you got to do it before you incur a bunch of debt. You got to like, but housing is a big expense, whether you rent it or buy it, especially if you buy it. Like, um, you know, housing just seems so expensive now. Like what this place is worth now, and there's nothing extravagant about it, but what this place is worth now has got to be worth at least twice, if not three times, what I put into it, just in terms of buying the land and buying the materials. I did hire contractors to build parts of it, but and that's part of why you know that's how a lot of people become wealthy is they buy their houses and then the economy goes prices go up and they sell it. I don't know if we can keep doing that over and over again. I don't think you can take the same house and just keep doubling in value every so many years. um, but maybe you can. Again, I used to think that was not possible. Now I'm starting to think, but just we're making such advancements in technology and transportation and resources that maybe that's possible. I mean, they're working. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been following this at all, but they're working hard on this new nuclear fusion technology. China's been doing it, France has been doing it, and so as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, what normally happens in nuclear energy is fission, whereas they're splitting atoms. and that's got all the radioactive risks and Fukushima and all that. Fusion is more like what the sun is, whereas I think you're putting radioactive things close to each other, but it generates incredibly high temperatures. But it's a very safe form of energy, unlike fission, because you can just turn it off at will. Like, I don't know what they mean if they pull the atoms apart, but you can turn it on and off at will. You can kind of adjust the dial. Whereas with fission, it's sort of like you start this process and now you better hold on, you got to ride this bull until the end, right? And so, if we suddenly come up with a way that everyone can have pretty much unlimited supply of energy, I mean, think of how that could change the world, right? So, I mean, I think that I think there's just so many opportunities now that it almost feels like we're advancing fast enough to catch up with these, let's say, maybe sloppy financial um, systems we built for ourselves. I don't know. I mean, I I'm actually becoming a little more optimistic in time over time than I was um, when I was younger, and I used to be like Jonah, and I'm a little less like that now. But we'll see. Proof will be in the pudding. New bottle for Nay. I don't know what any of that means. I'm a Midwest hipster, so I can I can tell you a lot about beer and a little bit about brandy and scotch, but um, that's about the extent of my cultural knowledge. So, okay, well, gosh, it's been going on for a while now. Um, I don't have that problem, but it makes me chubby, and that's my problem. So you know, I tried to bring things full circle to what I normally talk about. Um, I wish our whatever appetites were like beer, because I really like beer. I really enjoy beer, enjoy drinking it, but I don't crave it. Like, I can go weeks, months without even thinking about a beer, and then be like, oh, let's have a beer and sit down and just enjoy the hell out of that beer, and then go back, right? Like, why can't the other stuff be like that? Like, something you really enjoy, there's a time and place for it, but when there's not a time and place for it, you're not so bent out of shape that you have to go start a podcast about um, dealing with beer cravings. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and I'm just trying to be a little more health conscious. So it's like, the amount of calories I consume in having a good beer. Like, I like good beer. I don't like any of the what do I say? I mean, I'll drink Miller Lite as far as the high, uh, what I would say, the cheap beer, if you will. But otherwise, I like a good craft beer, IPA, imported beer. I like Guinness, that kind of stuff. It's kind of what I. So I just drink it sparingly, and then I try to enjoy the hell out of it when I can have it. So anyway, okay. Well, I think the domestic duties are going to be calling me here in a little bit. I actually have to go get eggs. So that's one thing. Egg prices, holy cow. We stopped raising chickens, um, but we eat a lot of eggs in this house. And fortunately, we live in an area where there's a ton of uh, organic egg production. And so you can go out, like this time of day, they're like boxing up, and you can buy like a flat of eggs for, especially if you get the odds and ends, um, oversized and things like that, that you get a much cheaper, and they're round eggs, and they're organic. Although I don't worry so much about that, but I guess if you're going to eat eggs, why not eat organic eggs? So I got to go do that, and then I got to burn brush piles today. Finally got some snow around here. So, all right, before I go, so what's your favorite beer, Jonah? My favorite beer is I can't name because it's local to the state that I live in, but probably my favorite go-to beers when I'm in a different state is I like a Guinness or a Black and Tan. When I travel, if I'm in an airport bar, I'll go to a Stella Artois, which is Belgium. Is that a Belgian beer? I think very different beers, obviously. But usually, if I travel, if I'm in a place, especially if it's like a craft brewery or whatever, I'll go. I know people make fun of IPA guys. I like IPA. I like kind of a I don't know bitter beer. I like a dark beer. I'll drink about anything, but as far as well-known beers, I like a good dark Guinness, and my favorite beer is a dark beer. It's a local beer, or like I said, like a Stella Artois. Are probably the ones I go to the most. And if I have to drink just run of the mill beer, I'll drink a beer. I'll drink a Miller Lite. Um, I've never heard of that one. Yeah, I the way it used to be, I would didn't drink beer much in the winter, but if I did, I would be a nice dark beer. And then in the summer, typically around here, I would have Miller Lite or even Miller 64. Is stupid as that sounds, actually is a pretty decent beer with low calorie. So like when I'm outside in the summer and working up a sweat, I've been working hard and I sit down at 5 o'clock before dinner, just cracking a couple cold ones and just pounding them. Just man, if that's a great way to end the day. So yeah, I mean I suppose it's something akin to Guinness, which not everyone likes it, and I don't like Guinness all the time. Um, but man, in the right sitting, boy, I don't know, it's hard to beat a good Guinness with a good meal. Oops. Miller High Life. I drink that. That's not bad. Um, like on a hot summer day, if you've been working, like I said, you've been out working stuff like that, and you want to sit down and down a couple cold ones, anything like that. Like I said, Miller Light, Coors Light, I don't mind so much, but I don't think I could get thirsty enough to down a Busch Light, Budweiser, Bud Light, Keystone, all those things. Man, my father-in-law, boy, he drinks, what's it called? Old Milwaukee's Best Light or something like that. It is the most horrid stuff, like horrid. I can't even drink it to be like cordial. It gives me a headache. So, but that's, find the, the most economical bang for your buck. I would rather pay more and get a 12 pack of beer I like than to buy a 24 pack of beer I don't really like because it's more economical. Just I'm I'm quality over quantity, certainly when it comes to beer. So, okay. All right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. It's been fun chatting with you guys. If you missed the first part, go back and check it out. I got a couple people lined up to talk. If you guys would like to come on and chat about anything, let me know. I'd be happy to do a live stream with you guys. We can put you on or off camera if you want. We can have Jonah give us his best possum recipe if you want. Whatever trips your trigger. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So it's been fun talking to you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll probably see you guys around next week online. So yeah, thanks everyone. And until next time, everyone, have a good one.